Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Kirsten.
Hello.
Kirsten, my friend, I need to tell you about something amazing that's happening, and I'll make it a bigger deal as we go. Kingdoms of Amalur is coming back, not as a sequel, but they're calling it Re-Reckoning. They're doing a big old full-on remaster, retexturing and all that jazz, bringing back what is, in my mind, and to a lot of people who played it, because this thing gets shouted about so much, one of the most underrated RPGs of all time. So first up, you've heard of Kingdoms of Amalur, I believe.
I have, yes. I actually heard about it from Ellen from Outside Xbox, who goes on about Kingdoms of Amalur. I'm pretty sure every single episode, if she can squeeze it in somewhere. And I actually ended up sort of looking up about it because she's sort of like, she just rants and raves about it so much. She's like, it's the best game ever. So I have looked up some bits about it, and it does seem like my sort of game, but I've just never got around to playing it. So if there's a new sort of remastered version that is about at the moment, then I might have to give it a go.
Yeah, so this is apparently coming later in the year. It leaked because of one of the Xbox posting. The Xbox store leaked and showed the listing for the game, but that's since been taken down. But obviously it's, confirmed. There's screenshots out there and stuff. But I think one of the things that always blows me away with Amalur, and you can check out on the channel, Jules did a video on how the funding for this game almost bankrupted an entire state, because the history of this thing is ridiculous. Just to, just sort of run some stuff down, the history of this thing. It comes from a baseball player, Kurt Schilling. Apparently he was having a conversation at a dinner party back in 2005, and he was like, I want to make a game. I've got a bunch of money, big old baseball man. I want to make a game. And the people that were in that team at the time, that were like in the circle that he was talking to, was R.A. Salvatore, who's like one of the biggest fantasy writers ever. He sort of did, I forget the name of the thing he did in the 90s, Forgotten Realms, and then went on to write for Star Wars and stuff. Wow. So he, and then the thing is, the other people that were in that team, I'm just going to get carried away freaking out about it, but the people that were in that team, because I've got these written down. Todd McFarlane was there, who obviously created Spawn and helped create Venom. So he went on to become like the art director for Kingdoms of Amalur. And the last person is Ken Ralston, who's the lead designer on Elder Scrolls Morrowind and Oblivion. So like that team, it kind of feels like the Chrono Trigger of like the modern day. Like you've just got all these amazing individuals who apparently, when Kurt Schilling was like, I've got a bunch of money, do you want to make a game? They all said yes. So the reason that like I said, Jules' video and bankrupting the state and whatever, is because they then went to Rhode Island's Economic Development Corporation and borrowed $75 million to get it off the ground.
Wow.
So I guess he didn't have that much money in the end, but he borrowed
just going to borrow $75 million,
just, on the side. And so he managed to get this studio called 38 Studios off the ground, which is what they ended up making Kingdoms of Amalur. But R.A. Salvatore did the world design, the lore design, all the different factions, and the place is called Rathia, the kingdom. All these different things that were going to happen in the background. There's like 10,000 years worth of history. He was going to do like a novel and all this different stuff, and it was going to be this massive MMO. The whole thing, there was this like development hell. The game that shipped isn't an MMO. It's more like a third-person action thing. But they kept the environments from the MMO side. But it's just this crazy story that resulted in this one game coming out, and the studio fell apart after that. R.A. Salvatore has like refused to talk about what happened, and he just doesn't talk about it. The novel never got released, as far as I know, and the only thing we're left with is Kingdoms of Amalur. So that's a big old blot of information. But I guess in terms of, you said you looked up some bits and pieces, what did you find in your time? Because I feel like it's kind of this like mythical RPG at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware of like the whole Elder Scrolls thing, but that now that you've said that, like I can 100% see that within Kingdoms of Amalur, and I think that's why I would enjoy it so much, because I absolutely love like the Elder Scrolls series. So when I did sort of look into it, I was like, oh, it does kind of remind me of the Elder Scrolls a little bit. So that's very interesting that you can physically see that sort of trademark look that they have. But yeah, it's just, I completely agree with you that it's just sort of like this mysterious kind of fantasy RPG, which I'm a huge fan of any RPG game. Anything that I get to sort of create my own character, like Dragon Age and Elder Scrolls and the Fallout series and stuff, I'm just a huge fan of, and I think that's why I was sort of drawn to it once I found out about it. But yeah, just never, I think the fact that I've just never got round to play it says something, and I think that thing is just it's because it's mysterious and it's just not talked about apart from by the people who have played it.
It reminds me so much of Dragon's Dogma, which like the people who have played that always shout about it. It's kind of been in that bracket of like, oh my god, I'll get around to it eventually. Like someone always knows, like, 3 degrees of separation, someone's played it or something. Because I had a quick note down here about the sales, and apparently it still did sell 1.2 million copies, which obviously is a big deal. But because of the amount of money that was put into it, like either through the loan or just development costs, because they scrapped the original version, the MMO version, and then came back with the other one, it was still deemed like a failure. Like I said, the studio fell apart and whatever. But I've also got written down here, but it's so good. I've written down, because I remember playing it back, it would have been 2014 or 2015 when I finally got around to it. But the game itself, like, it carries over the old MMO environment. So you have these like massive open spaces that are really sort of vertical, like they're really huge. It's all big and towering sort of thing in terms of the perspective. And the combat is very like God of War. You're sort of doing these big finishers to like, end combat encounters, and you can summon big like spectral wraith blades and stuff. And depending on, like you said, like different play styles that you might want to pick. There's dual wielding, there's bow and arrow combat, there's mage stuff and range stuff. And you can play stealth as well, which I always think RPGs get stealth wrong, especially like the Elder Scrolls games. Like, have you ever wanted to try that style of build?
I actually always tried to go down like the stealth route in the Elder Scrolls games. I've just always been more of a bow and arrow or a sniper sort of person, where I just try to be as sneaky as possible. But I think that, like you said, it's very easy to get it wrong because the mechanics are just not quite right. Like with the whole, it took me ages when playing the Elder Scrolls to realize that it was all about the eye. It was the
when you get in
is it still
yeah.
eye? Yeah, in the Oblivion and in Skyrim, I think it's still an eye shape, and it took me so long to realize that the more open the eye is like how visible you are, and it's just not an obvious. I mean, I guess it is obvious, but for me at the time, I was just like, I don't understand, what am I doing wrong? And so having that stealth element, I think does definitely work, but it's just something that I think can so easily just go wrong and just not fit in.
Well, I mean, that thing that you said, that whole eye system of like you're either totally invisible or it's like slowly opening and then closing and then opening again. And like for me, it always just glitched out, especially in Skyrim. Like you'd be going through some dungeon and you're pretty sure you're in total shadow, and all of a sudden all hell's breaking loose and everyone's chased after you. But I guess there's like another thing as well. Like other than The Witcher 3, I don't think that many third person, like there's probably something really obvious that I'm not thinking of, but not that many massive RPGs have been third person. It tends to be the Elder Scrolls, it tends to be the first person stuff, and even like Cyberpunk has switched to be first person. So I guess, like, what do you think of that? Because I love the idea of a third person RPG. I want to see all my, I want to see my characters and stuff. I guess I mean third person action RPG, like camera over the shoulder, not a top down Baldur's Gate kind of thing. I always want more of those like over shoulder ones. Has that been something that, like, I guess over the years, like, because when I saw this, I was like, oh yeah, like we haven't had a third person massive open ended RPG, like proper dedicated RPG in ages.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like games that sort of give you the option of being in third person, like in the Elder Scrolls and Fallout, you have that option to kind of zoom out so that you can play in third person. You can see, like you said, all that effort that you've put in to customize your character, which I think is always really nice. But I personally, I don't know, I kind of switch between the two. I find that if I, have just given myself like a really cool outfit, or like, you're in power armor or something like that, it's fun to kind of play within third person. But I always like having the option of being able to go into first person, just because where I like to play in like a stealthy kind of way, it's easier for me to aim, it's easier for me to like focus, and it's just easier to play in general for me. But sort of having something that's completely third person, it's not really been done to with like a lot of massive games. Like you said, I think a lot of them tend to either just go straight down the first person route, or kind of then give you the option to be like, well, you do have third person if you want to, like you can change it, which I think is something that all games should have anyway, especially if you are given that option to completely customize your character. Something that really, really annoyed me about Outer Worlds is that they're like, oh, you can completely customize your character, and I was like, oh, awesome, but then it doesn't really, you never get to see it. You never get that third person sort of view, and the only time that you ever get to see your character is when you're physically customizing them in the menu option, and it's just like, what's the point? Don't either let you customize your character or don't. Like there's no point customizing something if you're never going to see it, because then it's just it's just pointless, especially when you're literally like grinding away to have to get these items, or even paying physical money to get these items that you're never going to see anyway. So so I completely see the appeal with customizable sort of RPG, big open worlds with a third person element to it, because it just makes sense having that customizable character to be seen.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, like, that's the thing. That's one of the smallest things that I always love in an RPG is if you can see the stuff you're unlocking. Like, I don't like what I've got a new sword or a new piece of armor or whatever, and my character's skin is exactly the same.
Yeah.
I want to be able to see them like modulate and change over time. And like Kingdoms of Amalur, as far as I remember, it's been a few years, shows you everything as you unlock it. I'm pretty sure it does.
Okay.
And I just remember that being a cool thing. And yeah, like I mentioned before about the combat, it's got this really great meaty sort of combat. You know, you can attack in multiple directions and things like that. It's a great RPG, Kirsten, and I'm glad that it's eventually finally coming back. So yeah, let us know anything down in the comments below. I know that there's a whole Kingdoms of Amalur, there's a whole sect of fans that have been waiting for this to make some return since 2012. So let us know anything down in the comments below. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
And I have been Kirsten Ria from WhatCulture.com.
I will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.